Where will our local teams be seated come playoff time? We'll talk about that in just a moment on the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello and welcome to the live edition of the Integrity Sports Podcast. We are on site at the Roman Oven Pizzeria here in Americus. We'd love to have you come by and join us, have some supper, and let's talk some high school football. I'm your host, Tim Estes, proud to be joined once again by my friend Scott Westbrook, where tonight we'll talk about Southland Academy, Sumter County, and Sly County, all teams in action this week. Our program is brought to you every week by our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. I can tell you from personal experience, I used them 2 weeks ago. They do a fantastic job. Give Keith a call. His number is 229-314-2048. Or you can call them at 938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to be the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, we're entering week 11 of the high school football season, and tonight we're going to discuss our local teams and where they are most likely to land in the playoff brackets when that starts to take shape. The positive side for all three of these teams, Sumter, Southland, and Sly, all should make at least the number 2 seed if they just take care of business from here on out.
Most definitely. This is a welcome change to what we've had in previous years. We'll have one team make the playoffs, 2, but now this time we got 3. And so that's going to be really interesting. And a lot of times the fans or sometimes will get upset when you end up with a number 2 seed if you're really wanting to win the region. Everybody always wants to win the region. But we've seen in the past, sometimes getting a number 2 seed puts you in a more favorable bracket sometimes. Yeah. And we'll look at that. I mean, you can think back a few years ago, just a couple of years ago, actually, when Sly won the region and Manchester ended up number 2. And Manchester had a cakewalk to the state championship game. And Sly had a pretty tough path and lost to Bowden in the Final Four. So, a lot of times getting the 2nd seed is almost like, please don't throw me in that briar patch. And that's right. Something that's good for a team. And we'll break that down as it happens too.
And Scott, when you take kind of the 30,000-foot view, Sumter has a very winnable game tonight. In fact, we were just told they're up 14-0, 5 minutes into the game over in Columbus. They'll play a good Columbus High team next week. Southland Academy, they've got one more game left tomorrow night. They'll face a very good SGA team. And then Sly plays their rival, Marion County. Sly should win that matchup. So everything that these teams wanted when the season started is still out in front of them.
It is, but in some cases, and we'll discuss that later in the coming weeks, there's some things that's out of their control too.
That's right.
They've got to. Some of these teams have got to hope for some. It may not necessarily be this week, but next week's game, they're going to have to start rooting for some of their opponents in the previous weeks.
Yeah. Scott, let's start with Sly County tonight. The Cats had a blowout win last week, and we predicted that. It was pretty obvious. They had a 61-6 win over Central of Talbotton. Sly's now 5-4 on the season. They're 4-1 in region play. Right before we went on tonight, you and I were looking at the standings. It's kind of interesting, and I don't know how they would break this tie in that region. Right now, Taylor County sits at, is it 4-0 right now?
Correct. Yeah, they're the one in the catbird seat right now. They're in control of their own destiny.
Yeah. So Taylor's 4-0. Sly County is 3-1. Macon County is 3-1. Macon and Taylor play. Is it tomorrow night?
I think it's next week.
Next week.
I think it is next week.
They'll play next week. If Macon were to beat Taylor, you would have all three of those teams sitting at 4-1, and you would have Sly that beat Macon County. You would have Macon that beat Taylor, and then Taylor that beat Sly. And
that always creates a problem. But the coaches anticipate this, something like this happening early in the season, and they go ahead and work out what the tiebreaker is going to be early in the season. I don't know what it's going to be this year. We'll wait and see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But like I said, Sly's going to have to be almost. It puts them in a precarious position if they end up, in a three-way tie. Who knows where they're going to end up? But if Taylor wins, they know they're going to be a number 2 seed.
Scott, I don't want to talk too much about Central of Talbotton. That's an easy win that Sly got a lot of folks. In fact, I think they got everybody playing time last week on their roster. So we look at this week, Sly's going to travel over to Buena Vista to take on Marion County. Now, it's not your typical Marion County team. Marion comes in at no wins, 8 losses, in what usually has been a very competitive game.
It has been in the past. It's right now Marion County's kind of in the valley a little bit, but if not handled properly, this could be a trap game for Sly. We'll talk about later. We saw Crisp County go down and lose a game that they should. Win a game that they had no business winning.
Right.
And Pierce County losing to Crisp County when they had no business. So it's not. Marion County is not Central Talbotton, and the rivalry's still there, and there's still going to be fans in the stands, and there's still going to be some Marion County players that would love nothing more to salvage their season with a win over Sly.
Yeah, and Scott, you just mentioned exactly what I was going to say. Marion County, even if they lose to Sly this coming week, will be 0-9. Their last regular season game is against Central of Talbotton. I don't think there's any chance Central of Talbotton beats Marion, so they're not going to go winless. But the rivalry between Sly and Marion has always been very bitter. And regardless of who was doing well, because for many years, Sly was that team that was not very good, but it always seemed to be a good game against Marion.
I predict it may be close until halftime, but I still feel like Sly's going to pull it out. But they don't need to look past them or sit there and think, hey, just because that record's and whatever, it's just like what we're going to see this last week, because it's not. But, Sly County's got some really good players who've had some great seasons. They've had a couple of injuries along the way. But the reality is if the players come out there and do exactly what the coaches prepare them to do, they're going to be fine.
Hey, we got a live update for you thanks to Ken Gustafson, who's over in Columbus covering the game. He said there's 5:21 left in the first quarter. Sumter County is now up 21-0 over Hardaway. So it looks like Sumter is on a roll again.
It's good to have Ken covering local sports again.
It is. Scott, Marion County is averaging 15 points per game on offense. They're allowing 41 points per game on average. You flip that, and Sly County allows an average of 19 points per game, and they're scoring 24. Now, Maxwell rating system has Sly County as a 34-point favorite here.
And I think that's fair. It's just, but it is still a rivalry game, and I don't care what level you see rivalries. Those are the ones that a lot of times they slip up and have an upset when a team wins that they probably shouldn't win. But I feel, I got great faith in the players and the coaches of Sly is going to do what they need to do tomorrow night.
You're watching the Integrity Sports Podcast. We are live at the Roman Oven Pizzeria. Our show's brought to you each week by several sponsors. One of those is Carter's Fried Chicken, located at 206 Tripp Street in Americus. Owner Mike Shaddles and his staff have been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials featuring baked or fried chicken, vegetables, and great desserts, and they do it all at an affordable price. Carter's Fried Chicken is a supporter of all of our local area teams, and they would like to wish each of those teams the best of luck this week. Thanks again to Carter's Fried Chicken for supporting this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. That takes us over to Southland Academy. Scott, I'm blown away. I thought Southland had this thing in the bag, and their 6-game win streak came to an end last Friday in Lyons, Georgia, as the Raiders lost 27-21 to Robert Toombs Christian Academy.
I listened to that game to the bitter end, and I just sat there and thought about the rough ride everybody was going to have on the way home, because it's a lot more fun to ride one of those late night Friday night rides when you win as opposed to when you lose. But it was close to the bitter end, and it was one that was winnable for Southland. But sometimes this just happens late in the season.
And Scott, sometimes it's good for a team to get beat this late in the season, especially after you've had a long winning streak. You start thinking a little too much of yourself at times. And as a former coach, I knew at times my team needed to get beat.
Well, and Nick Saban said they might have, ate a little bit or drank a little bit of the poison and believed a little bit of their own press. But by the same token, it's good to get your oil check in the season rather than the playoffs. And as Don King said about Mike Tyson one time, he got humblified.
Yeah.
So they might have got a little humblified and said, okay, listen, we ain't just going to waltz in here and beat these teams 40-0. We've got to prepare. We've got to be ready. We've got to listen to what the coaches say, and we've got to do what has worked for us in the past.
This puts the Raiders at 6-3 on the season, sets up a really big matchup this week over at Harvey Simpson Stadium as the Warriors of Southwest Georgia Academy come to town. They're also 6-3 as well. In the Max Preps GIAA rankings, when you look at those, and Scott, Max Preps rankings is what seeds the GIAA teams in the playoffs. Southland right now is ranked number 2. Southwest Georgia Academy is close behind at number 3. There's literally 1 percentage point that separates the two.
And I guarantee you that the coaches at Southwest Georgia Academy are telling them, hey, you're right below this team.
Yeah.
Anything you can use to motivate your players, use it. And you always like to come in, especially this a close game with 2 equally matched opponents. You like coming in an underdog.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot easier on the coages to say, hey, they ain't respect. They're not giving you any respect. You need to step up to the plate and show these people that Max Preps and their computers or whoever else has doubted you. Show what you can do.
Southwest Georgia has 3 losses. Southland has 3 losses. You may wonder, who are those losses to? How does that compare? Well, Southwest Georgia has lost to the hands of Deerfield Windsor, Brookstone out of Columbus, and Atkinson County. Southland's 3 losses are to that same Deerfield Windsor team. Southland's also lost to Westfield and, of course, last week to Robert Toombs Christian. As you look at the stats, what do these teams do? Southwest Georgia doesn't really throw the ball a lot. They're 9 games into the season. They've only thrown for 250 yards, but their rushing attack has amassed 1,500-plus yards. So, Scott, if I'm Chance Jones or one of those guys that's coaching the defense, I know going in, hey, I'm not going to forget about the pass, but our job's to stop the rush.
Let's stop the rush, but let's not go to sleep. Don't let one of these little tight ends slip past you, or one of these speedy receivers. They sneak in there and get caught looking in the backfield, and next thing you know, you're beat by 6 steps.
I like the fact that Max Preps keeps stats, and some folks keep them up, some folks don't. Southwest Georgia is one of those teams that does. They've had 180 tackles on the season. Their defensive linemen have made 104 of those.
Wow.
And I tell you what I like about that. Southland runs the wing T. If Southland's guys can get their running backs into the second tier, I think Southland's got an advantage. You don't
want your defensive backs to be the ones making all the tackles, because if you look at a box score the next morning and you see that your safeties and your cornerbacks have made a lot of tackles, chances are it's been a rough game for that particular defense. And like you said, that's the good thing about the wing T. You wear them down. You can get past like that front line of defenders. Then it's Katie bar the door in some cases.
That's right. Another thing this week, Scott, I've never seen before, and you may have. You've followed Maxwell rating systems longer than I have, but they've literally got this one as a toss-up. Usually they'll tell you who they're predicting to win based on the stats and what the spread's going to be. The spread on this one is literally 0.
I think it goes back to what you said earlier. There's only 1 point that separates them in the standings, and I'm not necessarily a computer guru, but I'm sure all that kind of stuff ties together. And if they don't see a pretty big spread in the state standings, and they're just 1 point separates them, I think it's pretty easy call for the computer to say, hey, let's say this is a toss-up game, because there's really, when you're just talking 1 point difference in the standings, then that's not a huge advantage one way or the other.
Our good friend Billy Goodman from Billy Bob's high school football scoreboard texted in and said, with 2:59 left in the first quarter, the Sumter County Panthers now lead Hardaway by a score of 28-0. So no question, the Panthers have picked up right where they left off.
Most definitely. That's what you like to see. I mean, especially if you coach Will Rogers, you like to see your team get on about a 30-point lead in the first quarter. That makes you feel a lot better. And them younger guys better be strapping their helmets on, because they're going to get in there.
Thank you for watching the Integrity Sports Podcast. We have a new sponsor, thanks to Custom Auto Sales, located at 907 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Owners Lance and Jessica Stick. They've been fixing your car for 25 years. Now they want to help you buy one. They've added major banks and better financing for every credit situation. You can reach Custom Auto Sales by calling 229-924-5558, or you can check them out online at www.customperformanceauto.com. Thanks to Custom Auto Sales for sponsoring the Integrity Sports Podcast. The Sumter County Panthers, they're 7-0, and it looks like they're actually 8-0, and it looks like this win will take them to 9-0. They had a big win over Spencer. They had a big win over Shaw, and then ran into a buzzsaw against Carver. Now tonight they're playing Hardaway, and as we mentioned earlier, they'll take on the Columbus High Blue Devils next week. Scott, that Carver game, we talked a little about it during their open week last week. That's as good a high school football game as we've seen in many years. Two of the juggernauts in Class AA just went at it for 4 quarters. And
when you compare and contrast that game to the Carver-Sumter last year, Sumter has closed the gap significantly.
It was 31-0 last year.
That's right. And now we're looking at an 8-7 score. And not, the weather. I wonder how much the weather played into that game, because it was rain. I mean, I was watching it out in Colorado, and I was like, well, at least we get some rain back home. I knew that much, but it was a tough game to play and tough game to watch. And but if you like defense, it was a great game.
Hardaway is a total rebuild, the team that they're playing tonight. We're not used to seeing Hardaway winless at this point of the season, but it looks like they'll go to 0-9 after tonight. But, Scott, next week, the Panthers are going to wrap up their season again on Thursday night. They'll play in Columbus at 7 o'clock next Thursday. And the team they'll play, Columbus High School, if they win tomorrow night, they'll also be 8-1 going into that game. Those two teams will be tied for the second seed in that region.
Hardaway and Columbus High School, they're only separated by a couple of miles over there. They're really close to each other. And I'm curious if Columbus's newfound success in football has anything to do with Hardaway's rough season. I'm wondering if some players are not, shifting allegiances. Who knows what's going on over there? But like you said, normally you see Hardaway with a good, pretty decent team each year, and Columbus has never really been, or recently has not been known as a good football team, but now they are.
And here's something crazy, Scott. Maxwell, when you look at the rating system this week and who's favored, in that Columbus game against Spencer tomorrow night, they've actually got Spencer favored by 2, and Spencer comes into that game at 4-5.
Yeah, and that's odd to me, because I think sometimes these Maxwell ratings, this computer system, once again, I don't know what all goes into it, but you and I have alluded before that sometimes they take in historical records and things like that. And I'm wondering if that right there, however they weigh that in the algorithms or the computer program or however it's done, I'm wondering if the historical context is not giving Spencer the nod on that.
Here's something interesting too, Scott. Sumter County was ranked number 4 going into the Carver game. They fell after the loss to number 7. They had the open week last week and moved up from 7 to 6 this week in the rankings.
Sometimes you do that on an off week or whatever. They're the only rankings that matters though at the end of the season, really and truly. And I think that Sumter County's doing what they're supposed to do. I'm sure everybody, would rather have another shot at that Carver game, and they may get a chance, but it's going to be in a good chance it may be in the state championship game.
Yeah. Sumter County is a 48-point favorite in tonight's contest, and it looks like they're well on their way to reaching that. So, Scott, we've talked about our three local teams, and before we get to the predictions on them, this time in the show, we always will mention those folks that are in our area that may be playing. You've already mentioned Crisp County. They're now 3-6. They had a huge win last week over previously undefeated Pierce County.
And see, that's what we always talk about. We sit there and we talk about these trap games. And I guarantee you, everybody in Pierce County thought Crisp County was just going to come lay down for them. And that's the opposite of what happened. And, they beat them by more than one score. And so it tells me that Pierce County either got caught sleeping or got caught looking at the upcoming games or upcoming weeks and didn't give Crisp County the respect and that they did in preparation time that they deserve.
Crisp will be open this week. They won't have a game. They'll finish their regular season next week. Lee County, they're currently 6-2. They blasted Veterans High School last week, 48-3. This week, the Trojans are back at home, and they'll face north side of Warner Robins. Now, if you're a South Georgia high school football fan, when you hear north side of Warner Robins, you automatically think, boy, they're always good. Well, this year, they're 0-8 coming into this contest. Maxwell Rating Systems has Lee County as a 41-point favorite.
Coach Nix is long gone from Northside Warner Robins, and they've gone through several coaches, and they've got a coach over there right now that a lot of the local folks seem to think he's going to turn it around, but I don't think he's going to do it before tomorrow night.
Marion County, they're also 0-8. They'll host Sly County. We're going to get to that one a little later when we predict our local teams that we focus on. Scott, here's one that just floored me last week. Terrell Academy, they're now 4-5. They had evidently a total meltdown last week. They took on Bacon and Charter, who was 1-5 going into that game. And you and I have seen Bacon and Charter. They're not a football school. They're more of a baseball school, usually pretty good in baseball. They were 1-5 going in. Terrell Academy was a 27-point favorite going into that game. Well, Bacon and Charter beat them 27-9. Tomorrow, the Eagles will travel over to Chula, right outside of Tifton, and they'll take on Eric Soliday's Tift area Panthers, who haven't had a great season in their own right. They're 3-5, but Maxwell has Tift area as a 21-point favorite.
I would not have predicted Tift area would be 3-5 at this point, but they I'm not exactly sure what they got some injuries over there. I mean, I obviously haven't been following Tift area. We know they're well coached, but unless short of injuries or short of talent, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. But I'm going to go out on a limb and predict Tift area tomorrow night.
All right, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go with Tift Area Academy, and one that we won't have to talk about a whole lot because anybody in America that knows anything about these two teams would predict it. Macon County is a 47-point favorite over Central Talbotton.
Right. Like I said, next year we're going to have to re-examine this because some of these games like that, we may have to start taking points to make it interesting and see what happens.
Tonight's show is also brought to you by Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Go by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their fine staff and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. They can even do the famous discount double check to make sure you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. You can call Marty at 928-3686, or you can look them up on Facebook. Thanks again to Marty McDonald State Farm. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, Scott, that gets us to our local teams. We're going to start with Sly County at Marion County. According to Maxwell Rating System, Sly County is a 34-point favorite.
I think that's going to be fair. I think Coach Alford and the rest of the guys are going to have them Sly County ready. I think a lot of these players that at Sly County, especially some of the seniors, sense that the end of the regular season's coming and they need to ratchet it up if they plan to make a playoff run.
Sly County also has a good crop of young kids, freshmen and sophomores, that really haven't gotten a lot of playing time until recently. It would be a good thing, I think, if Sly County could do what Sumter County's doing tonight, blow this thing out early and get those guys some more playing time going into the playoffs.
Definitely. Especially, you want to keep your pipeline fresh, and a lot of these kids, when you do have to play a team that's down, whether it be Central Tarleton or Marion County this year, you definitely want to get those younger guys some playing time.
All right, so I'm going to go with Sly County as well, and I think Maxwell's pretty close on the point spread. I'm going to say at least 28 that Sly will win by, but we definitely believe Sly County will win that. Now the tough one, Scott. Southland Academy. They're going to host Southwest Georgia. As we mentioned, Maxwell's got it as a toss-up. Nobody is favored. Your thoughts and your prediction?
You got the guys from the mean streets of Damascus. They're going to come tomorrow night, and they're going to really want to take that underdog status and really try to set a precedent early and set the tone early. I'm going to do something that I hope that and I'm going to follow my sword, and with hopes of motivating the Southland team. I'm going to pick Southwest Georgia tomorrow night, and hopefully that those young men can use that as a little bit of motivation. And I'll take the side eyes and the funny looks at church on Sunday morning. I'll be fine with that if they prove me wrong. So I'm gonna pick Southwest Georgia Academy just simply because I think that it's a pretty evenly matched game, and that underdog status that they're coming in with is going to make them, if they're not careful, they're going to come out of the gates on fire tomorrow night.
So Scott picks Southwest Georgia Academy over Southland. I'm going to take the opposite approach, Scott. I believe because of the fact it's at Harvey Simpson Stadium, I always give the home team a little bit of an advantage, especially if the two teams are evenly matched. The Raider Nation needs to play a big part in this game tomorrow night. These are two good football teams that are on an upward trajectory. The Raider fans can make a difference in this one. So I'm going to say late in the ball game, Southland Academy finds a way to win and take the number 2 seed and a bye going into the playoffs. So Raiders, don't let me down, and make Scott look bad by getting a win. And I think he would be okay with that.
That's what I'm saying. I make myself look bad without anybody's help.
All right, Scott. So Sumter County, they're playing tonight. They're playing at Columbus against Hardaway. They were a 41-point favorite going in. It's already 28-0 in the second quarter. We know they're going to win. Both of us are going to predict they'll win. What's the final score tonight, do you think?
It's going to be, I would say it's going to be over 60, I believe. They're going to score over 60, and I think Hardaway will get a cheap score late in the game, and maybe 63-7, something like that. But I do want to just a couple things before you close us out.
Yeah,
Tim. Tonight, Roman Oven is always so nice to give us a spot here, and all. I want to make a comment tonight. I saw something in the Roman Oven tonight I've never seen before on their buffet.
I did too.
It's they usually have that cinnamon roll that they put out, and it's like when they put crab legs out at the Chinese buffet. Everybody gets up there as quickly as they can. Well, tonight they tried a little something different. It was still a cinnamon roll, but it had kind of a little blueberry twang to it. It had some blueberries in it,
But it wasn't overpowering.
it was very subtle, very subtle, and I liked it.
I did too.
It sat there a little bit long because I think enough folks turned their nose up at it. I'm gonna tie the feed sack on it. I went and tried it, and I ended up enjoying it, and I would like to see it again. But I think that after the kitchen crew saw that it wasn't as popular as the Norman cinnamon rolls, they went back to it. But it was a good thing. And I think one other thing too that we need to touch on. There's been a lot of national news on sports this week, whether it be gambling and all that kind of stuff. And I know you'll agree with me. It is a sad day in the SEC when they discipline a SEC official who's got so much experience. I know you were upset about that and sad just like me.
Not in the least bit. And the guy's name is Ken Williamson. I made a Facebook post that at times I thought, should I have really done that? And I feel very.
I hope you were at the altar next morning.
Yeah, I feel very vindicated after yesterday's ruling by the SEC. And there's no place for that in college football and any level of football.
You mean suspend an official? There's no sort of place in that.
I mean, whatever the gambling thing was. So we're going to leave it at that. Scott, we're wrapping this thing up. We've been here about a half hour. I'm glad you mentioned Roman Ovens because Anthony Dragoan, the owner here at Roman Oven, really treats us well and has for a long time. He feeds us every Thursday night, and we certainly want to thank him for that. We want to encourage you to come out and eat at the Roman Oven, one of the top restaurants here in America's. Always good food at a fair price. Scott, as we go into this week's games, your final thoughts on the week of high school football?
Well, I'm tickled to death. All three of our teams are going to be in the playoffs. That's just something that I don't know that we've been able to enjoy that many years since we've been able to do this. So it's good that we don't have to sit there and late in the season going, talk a lot more about two teams than we do the other one, but we can still give equal billing to all three teams at this point.
Absolutely. I want to make a push to all three of our local area high school coaches. Chance Jones over at Southland Academy, Will Rogers at Sumter County, and then Darren Alford up at Sly County. We'd love to have you guys come on the week before the playoffs. Spend 5 minutes with us each and let us just get your take as we enter the high school playoffs. We've got over 3,000 people watching this show every week. We've had over 3,000 for about a month now. So this show's really catching on in the Southwest Georgia area. Scott, not only in Southwest Georgia, I was up in Northeast Georgia in Helen this week at another GRPA banquet, and 5 or 6 folks came up to me there. We announced it and got 5 more YouTube subscribers. So if you're watching today and you have not subscribed on YouTube, please go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. We really want to reach that 1,000 subscriber mark. Now, there's a big difference between subscribing and watching, okay? We get a lot of views on YouTube, especially on the replays. All we need you to do is hit that red subscribe button, and the one notification you'll get is about 15 minutes before we go live. It'll send you a notification to let you know that we're going on.
It doesn't cost a dime. It doesn't cost you a penny. But if you want to send some money to us, we will send you some prayer cloths.
That's right. That's right. No matter what platform you're watching on today, hit the like and share button, and we thank you for watching. We want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Again, go onto our YouTube page and subscribe or like and share if you're on another platform. Let me once again thank our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, Custom Auto Sales, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. Go out and support your local area teams this week. For my good buddy, Scott Westbrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.